All right, y'all ready?
Yeah.
All
Yep,
right.
that's right.
What's good? What's good? What's good? You in the mix with the Corner Radio? It's your man Kill holding you down as always. I got my R&B crew in the building. I got my man Jr. What's going on, fam?
What's going on, baby? What's
And I
going on?
got the original R&B thug Sean K. What's up, K?
What's up, Kel? What's up, JR?
What's going on?
Already know that. But yo, this is what we gonna be chopping it up about this week. I did a show similar to this with hip hop, like what are three things you would change about hip hop. But this is more not so much three things. Well, I guess it is three things we would change about R&B, but it's really more of a show that talking about what's wrong with R&B. Like where did we lose it? You know, you hear it 1,000 times. You know, you lost the soul and all those things. So this is gonna be that episode where we're kind of just breaking down and talking about what happened with R&B and how, and better yet, if we can get it back. So definitely gonna be a dope discussion. I know this is something that's very dear to JR's heart. You know, if you follow him on Twitter and watch any of his videos, he's always going in on what's wrong with the game. So yo, JR, let's set it off with you, man. What's one of the things that you feel like right now is wrong with R&B or soul music?
Right now it's not mainstream anymore. It's like when hip hop first came into the game, it wasn't mainstream. So you got a lot of labels that's not backing it like it used to. You know what I mean? And I feel like they're just backing artists like Beyonce and Rihanna. That's our R&B people right there. They're not backing people that actually can actually sing and got that soul in them, like the Jasmine Sullivans, the Vivian Greens, the Tamias, which her album was brilliant, and they scammed at the Grammys. But anyway, but I feel like it's the promotion, and they're not getting promoted. You know what I mean? It's just record labels are not really into R&B like they used to, and that is the major problem. And if they're not putting backing into it, then radio's not going to play it. So that's really the number one to me. Is really we're not getting the backing, and it's not mainstream anymore.
Now let me ask you this question, and I should have set it off with this first because my homegirl was asking me this the other day. Do you all feel there's a difference between R&B and soul music, or is it one and the same, or is it different? So JR, what do you think? Is there a difference between soul music and R&B, or is it all the same thing?
Well, to me, soul is more of a feeling. It's like what you feel, and to me, I think they kind of put it together, which they can, but they also can be different as well because you got somebody like Anthony Hamilton that has that deep essence of soul, but then you have Tank that actually can sing, but he makes R&B music. You know what I mean? It's really a difference. It's like Anthony Hamilton gives you that growl and that damn, like I'm going to go get me some brown liquor for him. You know what I mean? And then when you get to Tank, it's like, yo, that brother can sing, but it's not that like growling it, but he can sing. So it is a difference, but the way the media and what we have today, everybody puts the R&B/soul together, which in my opinion, you can't really do that, but the way it is now, that's the way it is. Because before then, back in the 70s and the 60s, they called it the soul singles or the soul album. They never called it R&B until maybe the 80s and the 90s when it started changing and Billboard started changing it to the R&B categories or hip hop categories. It was always the soul singles or soul album. It was never R&B until maybe the 80s when it really started becoming R&B and soul was kind of thrown out, and then they made it neo soul. So
All
yeah,
right,
that's
all
my
right,
take.
all right. What do you think, Kay? Is there a difference between the two?
Nowadays, yes. When you think back to like the Sam Cooks and the Otis Reddings and artists such as that, they sang soul music. Soul music was just that it came from your soul. When Otis Redding, was it Otis Redding sitting on the dock of the bay? No, Sam Cooke, I'm sorry. He's sitting on the
No,
dock of the
you're
bay.
right.
Like you felt it. You felt it. Like you felt like you were sitting there. Um, when you heard a change is going to come, like you felt it, like I was down by the river and like you was just like, oh goodness. So back then, so that soul music, it was just that, it was from the soul. And then, as JR said, to piggyback, over time, I guess, like, record execs, just like now they have like rap music and trap music. You know what I mean? Like they change the title and then it's like, oh, we have rhythm and blues. And rhythm and blues is good, but it doesn't get down to the meat of the soul. And so for the new school people, there is a difference. But I think anybody, with the exception of JR, who's much younger than us, anybody in our generation and older knows soul music for what it was, just, by the two artists that I named. So there's a difference now, but initially, not at all.
All right, and I think, JR, I think you made a good point just with the era. And I was watching the Five Heartbeats the other day, and just you see the jump from the 70s to the 80s, and you saw how now they're on stage, and Robert Townsend had the keyboard guitar thing that they was all rocking in the 80s, and it became more R&B in the 80s because, like you said, I don't think Luther Vandross. I always looked at him as R&B. I never looked at Luther as soul.
Right.
I agree with that.
Freddie Jackson, but I think when the 80s and that decade came, the music changed.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the Five Heartbeats is a great example to see where they came from in the 60s to now with them in the 80s, how they had to perform, or even Gladys Knight and the Pimps.
Mm-hmm.
Taking over time for me is not the Gladys Knight of,
That sing Midnight Train to Georgia.
You're calling it two totally different artists here. So, Kay, what's one of the things that you think is missing in the game right now, or that you would like to see more of?
I think what's missing right now is really like the feeling behind it. We talked about soul music, and I've been thinking about this, riding up and down the highway this weekend and over the past week, and I'm like, what's the one thing that I want back in R&B? I want the soul back. I want the feeling back. When you listen to old school R&B music, you feel it. I mean, when they sing, you feel that raw emotion. Now we just have people who sing well, but there's no feeling in the song at all. It's just like, okay, look, here's the song. This is a hot song. I want you to sing it. You have very few writers now and producers who are making songs specifically for one person. Whereas before, you knew Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis was going to make a song designed especially for, say, even Prince. Like, yo, this is going to have his feel, his emotion. We know we can pull this out of him. They're not doing that now. And that's the part that sucks. You can just write a song and it's like, let me throw it up in the air, and whoever catches it, that's your song. Just because you can sing well, it doesn't mean that you can deliver the song like it's supposed to be. And that's what we're missing. They don't know how to act. And you have to sort of be an actor or an actress to sing the soul music, because you got to make people feel like you're going through it. And they're not doing it. And not to like go off on a tangent, but I heard this like with Dag, what's his name from DC? Genuine. Like when he first started dating Soleil, and he was saying how his management team and the record execs was like, you better not make this public. And he was like, what? And they're like, you're the bachelor, dude. You have to remain that bachelor. Your songs have to be believable. When you singing So Anxious, they got to think that you calling some random chick and not your girl. Like, oh, I'm so happy to see you. And so that's what's missing. Like they're hiding something. Or maybe not even hiding it. They just don't know how to deliver it anymore. So,
right. Now I feel you. And one of the things for me on my first thing on my list is just the love. There's no love song.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I came up, I got really put on the R&B by my pops here, and what he was listening to was the Luther and the Freddie and the Anita and all that stuff in the 80s. And you look at some of these Luther songs, A House Is Not a Home, for Forever, For Always, For Love, The Night I Love, Stop for Love. There's nothing better than love.
Yes.
When you're looking at these song titles and these album titles, the key thing that's in there is just love. You look at it, Sweet Love, Caught Up in the Rapture.
Yes, yep.
Boy, when you're looking at these songs, and I honestly think, and like I said, for people who don't know, I've been working with teens from the hoods of DC for 15 years, and I think one of the things that's missing in their life is being able to hear or see anything that replicates love or an emotion. Even the bad boys of R&B with Jodeci have Forever My Lady.
Yes, right.
BBD, even though they were smacking up and flipping and rubbing it down, it was, when will I see your smile again?
Yes.
Right, right.
Get me and the boy used to do trades on it, but when will I see you smile again?
Right.
It always was that. And I can remember getting my license and riding around with slow jams, and you just hearing everything about love.
Yes.
Love.
Yep.
You know, it just make it last forever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Joints.
Ooh.
You don't have
Yes.
that anymore. You know, so I would just love to see and hear more music just about love. You know,
Mm-hmm.
about, you know, you can still be the dude with the Timbs, or I don't even know if it's Timbs anymore. You can still be the dude with the tight pants and whatever the new style is, you know,
No,
doing your trap soul, but you know, can you throw a little something in there about
Exactly.
love so that when these kids are singing a song, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the same way you sing a song and the words get in your head,
Yes.
the same way with love songs. You know, words will get in your head, and it's like, I
Exactly.
treat you that bad, and I need you back,
Yes.
and I want you back, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, Michael Jackson's the lady of my life. Like, that's one of my
Right.
favorite jams
Yes.
yes,
ever. You know, and it's
indeed.
just like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, you know, it was always just about this relationship between a man and a woman, and I feel like that's one of the key things,
Yes.
for me at least, that's really missing in R&B. Jr., what's something else you got on tap for us?
What I don't also like with R&B too, I don't think it's missing. Because to be honest with you, I don't really think a lot is missing. Because in my opinion, we have it. It's just not being presented to the world, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what bothers me. Like the instance with Tyrese doing this, I'm bringing soul music back. Like he bothered me with that. Like he really, really bothered me with that because I'm like, because if y'all going back a little bit, y'all, he just did like a Instagram video or something, and he said, you know, I want these R&B artists to come out with an album with no hip hop features. Because remember, a couple of videos we did ago, you said that you hated when hip hop and R&B kind of came together, and it kind of something got lost.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got a lot of record labels now are saying, "Yo, we need your first single to be a hip hop feature."
Right.
And that is what's missing with R&B as well, because it's like what bothered me about lost my train of thought. What bothered me about Tyrese is when he did this whole Black Rose thing, and I said I respect that, and I know what you're doing, and you're bringing all R&B back, and that's all well and good. But I think, in my opinion, I think he was using more of a gimmick to it, because
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, I feel like Tyrese, there's so many R&B artists that's out here that don't got the exposure like you. So you're the only one. You got people white people that's watching movies of yours and
Mm-hmm.
Fast and Furious. So you got a lot more people that can say, "Oh, Tyrese has a new R&B album out. That's dope." But when you got somebody like, say, Tamia that has no features on her album and nobody is giving her no love, but she's still doing soul music. So what bothers me, I felt like Tyrese used that I'm bringing soul back as a gimmick, and then for him to come out and say, I need R&B artists to do albums without features. I'm like, well, dude, there's so many people that I can list on my 10 fingers that did albums that had no hip hop features. And that's what I don't like with a first single, because that's what happened with Jasmine Sullivan. And I feel like her album got lost. Her first single was Dumb with Meek Mills. But then when you listen to the album Reality Show, that vibe isn't there. Like, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute. And every other song is no feature, but the Meek
Mm-hmm.
Mill was the first song that got put out as a feature, her first single. And I'm like, well, they didn't do that when she came out with Fearless. She came,
Mm-hmm.
her first single was Bust Your Windows Out Your Car. And then it was the I Need You Bad with Missy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, they didn't go that route. Or when she came with Love You Back, she did the Hold You Down joint. I'm like, why are they want these first singles to be with these hip hop artists? And that's what's throwing it off. And I'm like, it's not being taken seriously. That's why I was so happy that John Legend went under the curve when he came out with All of Me.
Mm-hmm.
When he came out with that song, he was finally the one to get a number one song with no hip hop feature, and it was him singing about his wife. I'm like, record labels can't do that, but they want, the first thing they want is, let's throw a rapper on it, and yeah, it will get exposure. And I think that's a gimmick to me. And us R&B lovers realize that's fraud right there, because if you get their whole album, that one feature is on there because you felt like you needed to put a hip hop person on there for it to sell, and I don't think that's fair. And I'm thinking you don't got to use R&B as a gimmick or soul as a gimmick, because It was clearly out here before all of this. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm sorry, I went on a tangent right quick.
Yeah. Well, let me say this because I agree with you, but I think the hard problem is from doing radio and working at labels is this marketing game. You know, the game is always changing. You know, so
Right.
like what you said about John Legend, he's able to do that now because this is what John's fourth album. But think about when John
Mhm.
first came out,
Right.
it was Kanye. You know, he really got
Mhm.
because of Kanye. You know, so he has enough range now, and you know he was able to do the Kanye stuff. And then when you listen to Get Lifted, Ordinary People is kind of in the middle of nowhere. You know, because
Mhm.
nothing else on the
Mm-hmm.
album really sounds like Ordinary People. You know, but
Mhm.
that's the one that kind of got him pub and kind of got him noticed by the white audience and the top 40 audience. So now he's able to do that. Whereas a Jasmine Sullivan, if you don't put out a dumb, you wouldn't even hear that. She wouldn't be on the
Mhm.
radio at all. You know, so it's
Right.
almost one of those things where it's like you gotta do it because if you didn't do it, then you definitely wouldn't even hear it at all. I mean, I agree with you, but I'm just saying
Yeah, I got you.
from
It
the
makes it
other
makes
standpoint of it, it's like even as a label, I'd have to say, look, you know, and we'll get into it, but really a lot of what you're talking about when you're talking about is not mainstream. You're talking about the payola and the money that labels put behind it. That's really what
Mhm.
you're talking
right,
because when it's
right.
time for Adele to sell some records, trust me, there's a
The
lot of
money comes out.
Oh,
Oh
her
yeah.
machine
you know
serious. That
there's
machine
a
is
lot of money. So that's really what we're talking about mainstream and padding people's pockets. Is really comes down to that payola, which
absolutely.
has now transformed from the radio of the 80s and the 90s to now the blogs. Because now to
Mhm.
get featured on some of these blogs, you got to come out your pocket.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's about how much money is the label willing to invest in you to make sure you're on. I forgot one time I shot a video for my man Fernand. And I reached out to World Star Hip Hop, and they was like, "Yo, if you don't got over 100,000 views on YouTube, it's like $800 to get your video on the front page." You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they showed
So
that joint my dude results that he's a hip hop artist and he wanted to put his joint on Worldstar. They told him he had to pay like 1,200 just to put it on there. And I'm
right.
like, what?
But I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. How
Mhm.
back in the day you'd be like, "Yo, how can I get my? How can you think about Brown Sugar that movie where they was just trying to get on Hot 97?"
Mhm.
Now it ain't
Mhm.
about that. Now it's how can I get on 2dopeboys.com or how can I
Mhm.
Netflix.com. So that the whole system is constantly changing. And yeah, like cats are just trying to keep up with it. But Kay, what's one of your other things that you would like to see changed about the game?
Dang, after JR went off, I just was hoping you skipped over me. But
I'm sorry.
he was mad. I just ripped up my check for the church and I wrote your name on there. I'm gonna go on
Good.
your
So
website and I'm going to donate. I'm telling you because you took us to church with that one right there. But
my rent at the end of the month, so I need that.
there we go. That's that. I ain't babyface. I ain't paying your rent. I ain't doing your dishes. None of that.
That she just baby faced me though.
I'm not doing it. Tech, y'all took me off. What was it? What was one of the things I wanted to see change? Is
Yeah,
that what you
what's
said?
one of the
Yeah.
things that you want to see changed or that you miss about the game?
I really think that I want to see these record companies back these people. That's what I want to see because when you look at all of the unsungs or the where are they nows, you hear groups that were singing their hearts out and they were R&B and they tell you everybody there's a clear line like around like the mid to late 90s. It was like, yo, we was singing R&B, we was good. They told us to change. There wasn't no room for us on the label because all of all of the music started to change. You know, like before you had Puff on there and he was just doing remixes. But then Puff had Mary banging, but Mary still told a story. You know, you still felt something and people overlooked that. You had Jodeci, they was banging, but they still told a story. They were in love, etc. But I think what the record company saw was, yo, this is dope beats. We got a whole new audience we reaching, and we just going to take that and ride it out. But now they've screwed it up because the real music lovers don't have anything on the radio to listen to. So we resort to Sirius XM or we resort to going online and looking at different blogs to see what the latest hot R&B artists see who the latest hot R&B artist is, because they're not putting the money up front. They're not pushing them. Like we talked about this, I think, when we did the what was it, the five top guys, that we were talking about something, and I brought up Jaheim. And I
Right.
was like, Jaheim's a dope singer, but he's not going nowhere. They not pushing him like they should. There's no way in the world he should be on, maybe, what is it, like album 4 now? And it's like, oh, Jaheim has an album. Or it might be past 4, but I bought 2, and after that it was just kind of like, oh, there's a Jaheim song. Now, if Jada is on a song, it's dope. Like, yo, I gotta go get this. But if it's just this man alone, nobody's doing it. And the same thing with Joe. Joe been singing his ass off. He probably came out the womb singing. Joe should be tearing down stadiums right now, but they're not pushing that type stuff. That's what we need them to push. And it kind of goes in connection with what you were saying, Kill. The reason why I feel that they should push it is because there is no love. Like you talked about being able to feel the emotion in a song. Like I remember being in high school, it's raining outside. You listening to Keith Sweat, you like, I want to go outside
Right.
in the rain. You know, like when I'm at work, I always crack a joke. Like I do that whole like "Don't Stop the Love" in the beginning when he's like, I kept looking at the clock and it was ticking slower and slower. Yeah. And I say this, and my coworkers are like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh God, the Keith Sweat song." Like you felt like you wanted to be in love. Things were different, and I think like if they back this stuff, everything would change, the whole game, just worldwide. But I'm about to go off on a tangent like JR, and so I'm going to stop there. I just need the radio, the record execs, and the labels to back this stuff and like get it back out there, because there are artists that they're putting out. Vivian Green, they not talking about her stuff. Tamia, you right, they don't talk about her stuff. There's so many of them who, like, I look at my iPod and I'm like, Dad, I got all of these artists, but nobody's backing them. So, I don't know. We just got to get that back. So
Right.
now, Dad, JR, I caught your disease, and now I'm running off.
And I think the flip side of what you're saying, Kay, is I wonder if these labels even want these artists anymore.
They don't.
That they want to sell, and that it's just like, they give me a reason to drop you. Like, we put out this album, 20 people downloaded it. Now we could drop you, not owe you no money. I mean, I think a lot of labels are just really trying to clean house with a lot of the Tamias and the Joes and all that.
Exactly.
And to be honest with you, it to me, it would almost be in their better interest. I would rather, if I was a Joe artist, I would rather want to be independent. Because I have my audience, you know what I'm saying? I have the people who can rock with me. And the thing that I've always said about hip-hop is that I've never understood why these artists nowadays have whack beats on their album. Because the fact that through Twitter, right now, Melanie Fiona could come out and say, look, I'm doing an album. I only got $12,000, so I'm giving each producer $1,000. You'll get your publishing, you'll get your credit, but you're just getting a G. That's it. And her email would be flooded.
Yes, exactly.
With producers like me and other producers who are trying to get on with beats and who will be happy to do this album, $1,000. Melanie Fiona could be like, look, I need a studio to record it. I'd be like, Mel, get in my crib.
And you can iron your clothes while you doing it.
She can iron my clothes while she up in the studio. But that there's no excuse. To me, I would want to be more independent now. You know what I mean? Because the thing is that also dealing with the bigger name producers, like, and making it hip hop, Just Blaze will charge you 30, 40,000 for a beat. Shit, I'll do your whole album for 20,000. You know what I'm saying? I'll save you 20 from the door. You know what I mean? And because this is my first opportunity, I'm gonna give you all my hot stuff. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'm giving you some beat he has sitting around for 2 years. You know what I mean? So again, I think it would be a good divorce. These labels and these artists need to just part ways. You know, she has her crew, she has her followers, she has her fans, that she could still do shows and people that would support her, and then she wouldn't have to sell as many records to keep as much of the money that you would with the labels taking half. But
unfortunately, I think that going that route, it's viewed negatively. Like, you think about Carl Thomas and how long he sat on the shelf before his album came out. Because remember, Carl Thomas, you was hearing about him, and I'm about to go way back, when the Keenan Ivory Wayans show was on. He was on there, And,
Yeah.
and Puff was like, yo, this is my R&B dude called Thomas. He was singing hooks. And you was like, oh, this dude is a beast. And then you waited. And it was like 5-6 years. Then all of a sudden he comes out and you like, yo, this is hot. The next CD is all right. And then he's gone from the label. He jumps to another label. That CD is, it's all right. It's not too bad. You still know the dude could sing. And now he's touring with these blaxploitation plays, like Mama, where my oatmeal at?
Mama, why the cable cut off?
Exactly. Like it's viewed negatively because even like Tank, you look at Tank. Tank came out and he sang "I Deserve" and he killed it. Like you felt it. Like yo, you do deserve. She gonna kick your ass out, dude. And then all of a sudden he just like disappeared. And then he was doing a little circuit. And then he came back with the whole, TGT or whatever. But it's just like, it's viewed negatively when they go away. And that's the downside.
But you know what I think it is, Kim? I don't think it would be viewed negatively right now. I know what you're saying, because there was a time when there was a time in R&B, especially hip-hop, I could tell you what artist was on what label. I could tell you.
Yep.
But I could tell you Def Jam had EPMD. I could tell you, there was an era that we came up in that where the label to the artist was synonymous. Now, to be honest with you, I don't think nobody knows and nobody even cares. I have no idea what label. I think Drake is still on Young Money, but the average artist, I have no idea what label he's on. I don't know if it's independent. Jill Scott just dropped the album. This is her first independent album. Nobody knows. So I do agree with you that there was a time when that was viewed negatively, but now I just think like nobody even knows anymore. There's no Bad Boy, there's no Death Row, there's no Rockefeller, so that whole like what crew you with don't even matter no more. You know what I mean? But I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay, I think that's because the R&B and music on the whole has lost its sound, and I touched on it in a previous episode where when you was driving from New York to Florida, you knew the sounds. When you was in New York, they played R&B, but you knew like our music was a little edgy. You knew that you was going to get a little more hip hop mixed in, and it was like, okay, we got the Philly. You knew you was like hand dancing in the basement with like your parents, at the family reunion. You could tell that, and that's how labels were. You knew like, all right, EPMD, like you said, they whole little clique, like, all right, they on this label. And you know why you know that? Because that label is from up north, and that's that up north sound. Like when Master P came out, he put New Orleans on the map. You knew New Orleans. You knew that sound like, yo, that's P, that's his crew. And because music, it doesn't have a sound anymore. Each city, each pocket, whatever, doesn't have a sound anymore. That's why it doesn't matter. Like, I think that's the other thing. You have to get back the sound and bring it back to where it was for the music to even matter. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
No. I agree with you 100% on that. Same thing with hip-hop. I mean, one of my team, I got in this huge argument with one of my teams. He was trying to tell me Fat Joe was from Miami. And I'm like, yo, Fat Joe's from the Bronx, man.
Right.
Because he's always out there with Khaled. My teenagers look at Fat Joe like, nah, he from Miami.
Right.
Like, nah, he was digging in the crates. They like, what, digging in the what? That's right. I had to bring up Flo Joe on you. Right. You know what I mean? So, but that's a side note. But for me, one of the things that I would love to change, and we talked about it a little bit on the Babyface joint, is I miss the duets. And again, it kind of ties back, and then I should have done this with the love song. I know that you be having your Tanishis and Chris Brown duet. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Fire and Desire.
Yes.
I go from here. The Endless Love, the
Feel the Fire, Teddy Pendergrass and Stephanie Mills.
I mean, and that's what that's what I miss. With You, I'm Born Again, the Billy Preston and Sarita joint, like again, that ties right back into all the love songs. So it was something when you're hearing, even on a breakup song, like where do we go from here to here?
Right. Yes.
Talking about we was in love and what do we do?
Yes.
I was 16 at the time. You break it up with your shorty, and that's your
right.
Like, where do I go from here, like,
Right. We was just the perfect combination.
right,
What
right, you're right. It was
happened?
just the perfect combination, But now things went crazy. I seen you talking to this dude at Brian's locker.
Right.
What's good, But those joints, so just again, and when you think about all these duets, again, it's all about love. You know what I mean? And the last duet that I like the Eric Benet and the Tamia joint, the Wedding joint, but the last joint I really, really dug was the and this had to still be in the '90s, was the Deborah Cox and RL joint, the We Can't Be Friends.
Yes, yes.
I mean, and I think, and I'm gonna touch on this later because I came across this real dope article I'm gonna talk about a little bit later, but it was something about connection. You know what I mean? And the article that I'm gonna talk about, I found it was saying why country music is winning and why R&B isn't. And
I saw you post that.
Yeah, country music is basically taking soul music's template and has used it, and we're not using it anymore. And that country music makes music that you can connect with. And I don't care who you are, if you've been through a breakup, We Can't Be Friends by Deborah Cox and RL.
Yes.
That's it. There's no way you can connect with that because you always want to try that. Yeah, we gonna be friends. Yeah, we gonna hang out. I'm gonna see you, and then it's like, yo, you realize you can't be friends. But there's no connection, and with these love songs and these duets, you can connect with that, with the Mary and the KC. I don't want to do anything. You know what I mean?
I was just looking at a video on YouTube with that, right? And it was so sad when you look at the comments and people was like, yo, this was the last, joint that people kind of felt, a duet that everybody felt. Because even though Mary and KC ain't, you damn sure felt it on that record.
And they was in 2 separate studios when they did that joint.
So I'm like, yo, you don't even feel that anymore. That's one thing I agree with you, Kill, about the duets.
It's again, R&B right now, or whatever you want to call it, trap soul, whatever it is. I think Bryson Tiller is a genius for naming his album Trap Soul because that's what it is. It's not R&B, but there's no real connection with the music for you to be like, yo, I'm going through a breakup. Like, what do I play? You know what I mean? If you do play something, trust me, it ain't gonna be nothing probably from the 2000s. You're gonna have to dig in the crate, through your iTunes to find something to kind of, reflect on what's going on. Another thing that I would love to see change is the instrumentation of music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And as much as I'm a sample-based hip-hop producer, I always tell people in a minute, I want real instruments. You know what I'm saying? I want, and even when I do R&B, of course there's samples, but if somebody said, yo, either give up sampling or, or there won't be no instrumentation, I'll give up sampling because I think it's something about just hearing somebody create music from scratch again. And, a lot of times that doesn't happen. Even with the soul artists we do have, and there's no knock on them because I think that's still dope. I mean, D'Angelo samples. You know what I'm saying? And, I do samples. You know what I mean? But there is still something about just hearing original music. And that's something that I miss. And, I mean, there's so many levels of that. I mean, for most people, they know my mom is a jazz musician. She was a music teacher in Philly for over 30 years. And, they've taken music out of our schools. So there's so many reasons for why, the instrumentation isn't there anymore. You know what I mean? But I would love to see that back because you go see a live concert and now we're seeing an influx of it again with live bands. But there was a time in the '90s, SWV come to Homecoming, they got it that they don't got no live bands.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So for a while in the '90s, it was like, okay, now we just forget. And it was everything that goes on in this industry is about money and cutting corners. So if I ain't got to pay a band and I can just give the sound man the dat, I just saved how much money on this tour. You know what I'm saying? I think when the Roots did that Unplugged with Jay-Z, it kind of opened up everybody's eyes to kind of be like, you know what? Let's bring live music. It was almost Jay. I call him like the Wiz, like how it wasn't Wiz. He'd be like, color's green. No, now the color's red. That's Jay-Z. Jay-Z says it's cool to have a live band. Now it's cool to have a live band. And now you saw more hip-hop artists having bands and having horn sections on stage to go along with the DJ. So again, it came back, but I wish we had more of just live instrumentation when it comes time to recording these albums and stuff like that.
But that's because we don't stay true. Like you talked about country music and how, country music has taken R&B's template, but they didn't. They always been true to that. They've been hurt. They've been like, I
Absolutely.
like all music. So like when I say I like all music, like I'll be at work singing a country song, and they're like, "How you know that?" Because I just like music. And
I
they've
agree.
always had that pain. They've always had everything R&B had, but they was just our country cousins, and it was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. And we don't stay true to that. Like you talked about the bands kill, and then like how when Jay-Z did the unplug with the Roots, and it's like, oh yeah, this is dope to do this again. But again, we don't stay true. Like look at Go-Go. You know, they stay true to that banging on the trash can type music, as I call it. Even though they got the drums, they got all the instruments there, they stay true and authentic with their sound, and it survives. It may never be as mainstream as they want it to be, but it survives. And that's where R&B artists, and maybe the new school ones, because the old school ones stayed true to their sound and then they just faded out. The new school ones don't. They don't know. They don't have loyalty, so there's nothing for them to stay true to. But if they did that, I think it could come back. So like the instrumentation with the music and the bands being there, it could come back. You know, but I don't know.
But you
They're
know what the
just not
problem is,
there.
TK? The
Hmm.
problem is like you said, go-go, you know, they're not mainstream. And when you say
Right.
mainstream, that also means money. You know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot
Yeah.
of these artists, because again, only reason why I know about go-go is because I live out here. I go to a
Hmm.
Maryland barbershop. But you remember being at Morgan, you know, go-go
Yeah.
on. It's like, all right, we just gonna chill until, you know,
Right. Exactly. But I like it
it's
now.
always been
That's true.
centralized, you know. But the problem is as an artist, do you just want to be like, all right, I'm gonna just have to keep doing these go-go's every Friday and Saturday night, still go to my
Right.
job 9 to 5, get off, go do a go-go. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So at the end
Yeah.
of the day, it's like
That's true.
artists, they're not gonna want to be like, I want to have a 9 to 5. Look at all of us. We want to
Yeah.
get out the 9 to 5, you know. So
Hmm.
I think that's the problem. But I agree with you. Like go-go has stayed true to it, and they do what they do. But
Because when you look back at like our parents, like you think about like the Commodores and groups like that. I mean, you felt like when they sang, what was it, Lionel Richie, Easy, like Sunday morning, you felt them. And they had the band up there. What's the guy's name with the long hair? Verdine. He'd
yeah,
be dancing with the bass. Like, you know, you went to see the show, the singers, just as much as you did the band, because they would
Right.
always get their segment in it, even on songs like we talked about. What was his Babyface's Where
go.
Will You Go? And we were just like, yo, the instrumental in the beginning. The bands always got time, but they don't get time anymore. Nobody's getting time. Everybody's doing beats over computers and tunes over computers. They don't have real musicians anymore.
Right. Nah,
Yeah.
you're 100% right. You're 100% right. JR, you got something else on tap that you got another vent in you?
The one, I think the last one, I think we don't have real singers anymore. I really don't. I really don't feel like the popular ones that we have are singers. Like when you look at the male R&B artists that we have now, quote unquote male R&B artists, we have Trey Songz that to me sounds like a goat. You have who else? You got Chris Brown representing R&B. You got all that, and I'm like, well, this is what the younger generation sees as what singing really is. Like,
Hmm.
and that's what going piggyback on what you were saying, Kill, about the trap soul being genius. I totally get what the guy was trying to do, but for me, it threw me off because when I hear trap soul, I'm thinking, all right, for me as an R&B lover, I'm gonna say, all right, trap soul, trap soul. I'm thinking trap. I'm gonna hear something, a beat by Jeezy, a trap beat that reminds me of Jeezy. Which I'm like, all right, when I hear soul, I'm gonna hear this boy sing. I'm gonna hear some Anthony Hamilton over some trap beats. That's what my mind when you gonna call it trap soul, because that's a real stamp to put on something like that. So I'm like, all right. So as soon as I go in here and I'm listening to a Drake album, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like this didn't do it for me. And then when you see live performance of the dude, I'm like, but where's the singing at? I hear no singing. Like, where's all this auto tune coming in from? And when people try to come at me and say, okay, well, T Pain did it and then Kanye did it, I said, okay, that's fine. But Kanye didn't call his album Soul when he did 808s and Heartbreaks. That dude, even though he was really, you hear the auto tune and you hear all that on the song, if you listen to 808s and Heartbreaks, you can feel that boy was feeling something. His mama just died. His fiance was gone. You know what I'm saying? Going through it. So you felt him. And I'm like, that's what I thought that maybe I would have got from, what's his name, Bronson Tiller?
Bryson Tiller.
Bryson Tiller.
Yeah, I thought maybe that's what I would have got from him. But for that, I'm like, where's the singers? I'm not here for Jeremiah. I'm sorry. I'm not here for him. I'm not here for Trey Songz, because I saw Trey Songz live and I was like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, Chris Brown, because I know y'all saw him sing on the this Christmas on that Empire Christmas special. I was like, Chris Brown, it's a negative. Go back to lip syncing, dog, because this, y'all messed up my Johnny Hathaway classic. I literally had to put on my joint and blast this Christmas, because I said Chris Brown sounded horrible. I was like, stop smoking cigarettes, because it ain't working. You sound a hot-ass mess.
Well, you know what it is, JR? It's two things. And again, I'm always playing devil's advocate from the other side, is that with Bryson Tiller, he had to call it Trap Soul to try to get us. To get
marketing.
So that's the marketing. That's the marketing of it, you know. And you guys stop falling for the banana in the tailpipe, because you said the same thing about Fantasia. Like, she said this was gonna be boo 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 boo. What was it?
Yes.
You be falling for the banana in the tailpipe. Like, they said this gonna be rock and roll soul meets hip hop, and you guys stop falling for that, man.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But we just said about country artists and true to what they are. When you hear a country artist do an interview, they gonna say, look, I just broke up with my girlfriend, she took all my money, I'm left with just the dog and the towel, that's it. Then I'm going to that album like, yeah, yo, I'm about to be depressed, I'm gonna need to go get me a drink and cry. That's where my mind is at. So if you're gonna tell me that the album is when Fantasia came in and told me her whole marketing scheme was, this is gonna be a rock soul record, cool. And your first single kind of gave me that vibe, cool. But then when I listened to the album, I'm like, well, where is the rock? It took me to track 9 to get, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, if you're gonna stay true to what you saying, then bring it. So I'm like,
artists too, man. It's hard to stay true.
Yeah.
And Fonte said this. He said it's hard to sell out when ain't nobody selling. You know what I'm saying? So,
that's true.
You know, it's hard to stay true when the bills are paid and, you know, you live in a certain lifestyle and now the lights is getting turned off and now you got to be on Dancing with the Stars and you got to be on Love. Anytime I see any of them people on any of them shows, I'll be like, damn, let me say a prayer for them because money ain't right. If you got to go on Love and Hip Hop or Basketball Wives, yeah, something ain't right, bro.
Yeah,
they
that's true.
forgot about Jesus. That's why they forgot to give their tithe money when they had their money, and they forgot to give their 10%, and they messed up. They forgot about who Jesus was when they got on that level. You know what? Let me stop, because God, you know what?
We about to go in, but yo, 1 or 2 of my joints. One of the things I would love to see stop is the cursing. I feel like it's over the top. I feel like, you know, it was when it's subtle. I get it, you know, but when it's over the top, and I'll give an example. On R. Kelly's last album, Black Panties, he had a song called Marry the Pussy. This nigga said pussy 51 times. That's over the top. Like, come on. It was to the point that I'm like, come on, bro. Like, you know, this is where we're at now. Like, you know, and this is what I mean, like hip-hop meeting R&B. It's like NWA meets freaking Sam Cooke. It's like, why are you cursing? You know, 51 times on one song. It's an R&B song. You know what I mean? And then the crazy thing is, again, I keep going back to my teenagers. One of them said, yo, Mr. Kill, why you mad about the song? At least he want to marry it. At least he ain't just trying to smash. And I'm like, wow, like this is
because that's their reality.
Right. That's their reality. Their reality is like, well, Mr. Kill, that song sound kind of positive to me because I'm used to hearing smash pussy. He said marry it.
Right.
You know, so what's the problem? And I'm just like shaking my head like. And I think because most people, when people don't work with kids, the only time you really see other kids is if you have kids and they have friends over, or you go to school tonight. The average people who are not teachers or educators or doing something with kids don't really get to see the effect that this music and the media that everybody has on kids. It wasn't until The Wire season 4 that people would hit me like, yo, Kill, it's really like that. I'm like, yo, I've been telling y'all this for years. Yeah, little kids is having sex in 7th grade in the bathroom. Like, I've been telling y'all this for years. Every school I've been at for 15 years has had a sex stairwell from elementary to middle to high school. So it's like that's where we're at, and it's just too over the top with cursing. And then too, also the songwriting. You know, coming off the shows we did with R. Kelly and Babyface, it's like it's falling flat to me. Like, I mean, you know, me and Jay always talking a little bit off camera, and I was saying the thing with me is that there's music that I can nod my head to, that I can bang, but that I don't respect. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
That's the thing. You know, when I look back on the 2000s, I think of the two. If you ask me songwriters from 2000 on, the two people gonna come to mind are Neo and Dream. And
Mhm.
to be honest with you, I've never been a big Neo fan. You know what I'm saying? And I like Dream stuff, but it's almost like a knockoff of R. Kelly. Like again,
Mhm.
ladies, I mean, of course, women love it. It bangs in the club. Is it a good song? I mean, I don't think so. But
Mhm.
you know, again, we're in a society where we just needed to bang in the club. We needed to bang in the strip club. You
Mhm. Yes.
know, basically, and it's funny because we were talking about this on one of the other hip hop podcasts about. It's funny because in the '90s, Premier would talk about we leave D&D studios and I'd get my MPV with my sound system and go out to Brooklyn in the hood and play what we just recorded for niggas on the corner. You know?
Mhm.
And that's how we knew, you know,
Yes.
he was feeling it. And it's crazy because now you leave the studio and you know where cats go? Straight
To
to
the
the.
strip club. Strip
Yep.
Let's
club.
how this album
Mhm.
does in the strip club. So at the end of the day, my man White was telling me a long time, this had to be 15 years ago. He was like, yo, I'm just waiting for hip hop dudes to just be like, all right, I'm done making music for the strip club. I'm back to the streets. And now 14,
Mhm.
15 years later, we still here, you know,
Yep.
getting this strip club. I mean, the strip club has now become happy hour. People be like,
Yeah.
everybody's at the strip club. You know, men back in the day it was just okay, you remember at Morgan, you keep that on the low if you went to the strip club. You know, you wouldn't
Yep.
even bragging about that. You'd be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm just chilling. I'm going down Baltimore Street. You'd be like, oh, you going down?
Mhm. Right.
Okay, you know, now it's like, yo, you be at work, like, yo, my man, we hitting love after this, like, yo,
Right.
it's nothing. So I think when you're making music for the strip club, and that's,
Mhm.
you know, ain't no stripper, you know, stripping to Stop for Love by Luther Vandross.
Exactly.
Well, you know, so when you're, that's where we're marketing, that's where we're pushing the music, and that's why we're getting this. And
Mhm.
you know, again, I just think the songwriting when we talk about Babyface and we talk about R. Kelly, and now we got to talk about Neo and Dream, that's a huge fall off right there.
Mhm.
You know, just as far as, and again, I can't really speak on Neo because I don't know a lot of what he's written or produced or
Okay.
whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I'm not a big fan. I heard his first album. Neo just has never done it, and I think it's been the
Mhm.
production for me. His production just never hit me like
I can agree with
to
that.
really be like, okay, let me go check a Neo album. So for all I know, Neo may have some great stuff, but just from Dream, I'm more familiar with from his stuff and the stuff he's done for B and other people.
Mhm.
And it's just like I would love deeper songwriting. But JR, the piece you were talking about artists, I wrote this down. We look at the artists that came out from 95 to 2005. We're looking at D'Angelo, Maxwell, Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, Anthony Hamilton, Angie Stone, Bilal, Carl Thomas, Chrisette Michelle, Dave Hollister, John Legend, Keisha Cole. That's just some
Oh,
of them.
that's a beautiful list.
That's a nice list, right? That's a
Yeah.
nice list from 95 to 2005. Now, from 2005 to now, we've got
Lord,
August Alsina, Bryson Tiller, Tanashi, Ty Dolla $ign, Janae Aiko, Mac Wild, Seven Streeter, The Weeknd, Jeremiah. You got Jasmine Sullivan. So again, I'm not trying to say that there aren't any dope artists. We got Melanie Fiona who have come out from 2005 on, but that list is more heavy on the youngster side of,
Yes.
you know,
Mhm.
very much more heavy on that side of things. So you really, you know, when looking at music, I'm always looking at the decades because it's hard to just group it all together. But
Exactly.
like that, when you look at it from 2005 to 2015, these are the singers we had. And I mean,
Yep.
look at the drop off. I mean, look at the people I named. D'Angelo, Maxwell, and Erykah alone could have left that list be.
Mhm.
right,
And we would have been good money. But, you know, when it's, like you said, JR, it's really about, you know, the artists and everything like that. Kay, you got anything else on tap that you would want to tackle?
you said about hold on 1 second, Ken.
Mhm.
My bad. You was talking about the R. Kelly and him, you know, with the song "Marry the Pussy," right? And we
Right.
got like August Alsina, and we got Trey Songz, we got all of them. Is it really kind of R. Kelly's fault in a way? Because I was debating somebody about that a couple of weeks ago, and we was on Twitter kind of going back and forth, and they was like, how are you going to be mad with these type of songs? And R. Kelly was doing that then, and I tried to explain to them then, at least R. Kelly could sing, and he made it classy. You know what I mean? Even though we
That's the
actually knew
point.
what the heck R. Kelly was talking about, like sex me, we knew exactly what he meant. But it seemed like you keep a little bit to the imagination. It seems like now It's like, yo, we getting in the room and we smashing, and this is gonna go down like this, and this is what I'm gonna do. And that's what I was so mad with R. Kelly when he made that song in particularly, because I'm like, R. Kelly, don't try to adjust to this young generation here. And that's where he goes wrong. And he tried to say, okay, I created these lanes for these guys, so I'm gonna go back and do that. And I'm like, R. Kelly, I don't want to hear a 50-year-old talking about married to pussy. I think that's whack to me. I think you've done it, and that's just horrible to me. And I'm like, with August Alsina and Trey Songz, even though I actually dig August Alsina, to be honest with you, because I like his story. He has a story, and you feel him. But then it's like they leave that story and go somewhere else, and that's back to saying something about being true. I'm like, August Alsina got this new album out. I'm hearing a lot of good views about it, but then I'm also hearing bad. And they like, well, this ain't the August Alsina from Testimony. He didn't grow. And I'm like, well, I'm lost, because I'm like, wait a minute. The interviews I'm getting from August and all this, I'm like, that vibe is still there. So I'm like, what are they talking about? So but I just wanted to piggyback what you were saying about what you're going about the R. Kelly. So I had that, but my bad, Kay.
You ain't interrupt Kill like this when he said Neo was whack and you ain't agree with him. You should have jumped Kill just like y'all jumped me on that whack Drew Hill first CD. That's how you should have jumped him. I was waiting for it and you didn't do it. But no, it's my turn now. I'm not talking to you. Cut his mic off. So I think the blatantness of or the overly sexual overtones is what kills me in the music today. When I was driving and I was like, all right, what do I want to see back? I want to see back live bands. I want the music to have feeling, whether you breaking up, falling in love, whatever. I want deep feeling. I want some love in there. Like, I want you to sing about loving this woman. I want a man to sing about loving a woman. I want a man to sing about loving a woman to sing about loving a man. I think the next thing is that I want you to like trick me. I think I said that with in one of the other podcasts. I forgot who we were talking about, and I was like, yo, Duke tricked you. Like, you knew what he was talking about, like Teddy Pendergrass. Like, you knew Teddy was going to take you home and he was going to beat it up. Like, you think about his song Come On and Go With Me. You know what I mean? He's talking to the lady in the bar. He like, my car's outside. I'm going to bring you back. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go home and, you're going to get up in the morning and cook for me. He was like, I'm going to bring you back tonight, though. You're going to come back, get in your car. You're going to meet your girlfriend. You're all going to go home together. And music had that. And when you talk about curse and kill, think about this. Nobody peeps this. Faith Evans' first CD, when she's singing, she says, I'm cracking and I'm fucking up on my mic. And she sings that through the song and nobody gets it. And then at the end of her other song, she's singing and she was like, I'm tired of this shit. And they literally, it flowed on out. That's a singer. That's a singer for you. And she cursed and nobody picked it. She didn't get no label on her CD, nothing. For somebody, you can't say fuck and not get the parental advisory labels. But to your point, when it comes to the profanity, and I agree with you, like, mine is not so much the profanity, it's just more so trick me into the sex. Like, for real, trick me into it. Babyface promised to pay my rent, do my dishes, all of that. Like, that means when I come home, you got to be butt naked and the kids asleep. Seriously, that's what that means right there. Right. And trick the people. He loved her, but he was just like, yo, if I'm taking care of home, Slim, when I get there, you better have candles burning and you better be naked. They don't have that anymore. All the songs is smash, smash, beat it up, jump out the window. Huh?
Smash and grab. Like, if you like, it's just smash and grab.
Exactly. It doesn't have any. Is no subtleness to it. The true players. You think about the old men in your neighborhood back in the days. They rode around in they big shiny cars and they played that slow stuff and they had women coming for them. You knew they was no good. But that dude would play that song and then women's like, yo, that's a good man right there. And I'm like, you realize he was dating your neighbor last week? Music doesn't have that anymore. and I want the sexual overtones to just disappear. I do.
Me
I
too.
want that to
Me
go
too.
away. Everything is not overly sexual. That's why you have kids. And now I'm about to be JR. Damn, Kill, you kind of jumped on your soapbox too. We need JP back. He kept it in line. You. That's why you have kids jumping to have all of these babies, and it's okay because they hear it in the music. Like you said, your student says to you, "Well, Mr. Kill, he said he want to marry it." Okay, but that's not the point. Like, you starting out disrespecting her, it's only going to get worse. Whether you put a ring on it, it's really over. And I want R&B to come back to the respect and the love, like the subtleness. Like, that's what it's missing for me.
Right. No, I feel you. And I think for me, one of my last things is we talked about it earlier with labels getting behind these artists, and I feel like the only people that labels are allowing to sing soul music are white artists. You know, like Sam Smith and Adele both get the okay to just, be soulful as they want to be. And then we're going to support y'all. We're going to put y'all on every TV show.
With a breakup album.
Yeah, with a breakup
story. Right.
We're going to, I see Adele got a special coming on NBC, I think, this week. Tomorrow, I think. You know what I mean? So we're going to give y'all this platform to go in and sing soul. But it's, again, watching the Five Heartbeats. I'm telling y'all, anybody young out there who's never seen Five Heartbeats, get that movie right now.
Yes.
It's everything that breaks the music industry down.
It does.
And every time it comes on TV, what happened, JR?
He got it in his hand.
I watched that on it because they school you on it.
I mean that's the blueprint of the whole industry. And every time it comes on TV, I tweet out to Robert Townsend like, "Yo, classic, bro! Like, you made a 5-mic movie that will live on forever." And I mean, it talks about, like they said, why don't they ever got to cross over to us? And it's like they get to sing our music and we don't. Like, if you're gonna put money behind soul music, then put money behind, like you said, JR, that to me is the Chrisette Michelle's, who is up and down. I never know what Chrisette is. Chrisette's song is now some trap type stuff. She's back and forth between the two. So again, but I wanted to touch on what I was reading. The website is soultracks.com, and they were saying what R&B can learn about country, and they were saying that in 2012, who was the only R&B artist to end up in the top 10 of album sales, and it was Lionel Richie's country album called Tuskegee. I didn't even know Lionel Richie had a country album out, but it went on to sell more than 3 million copies. You know what I'm saying? And they started talking about the breakdown of what, of how soul got started in the 60s, the mixture between blues and gospel, the second. And they talked about Motown, but what they touched on with Motown is they said, you don't understand, these artists went through artist and development.
Yes.
Months and weeks and years of dance class. Back to the Five Heartbeats. Who dancer? Who this short dude who's gonna teach y'all the steps? It's like, we're gonna teach you how to be stars. You know what I mean? And
but that's what Andre Harrell did.
And Andre Harrell is one of the last few people who did it, because then what happened is artists in development got switched to artists and the A&R, and then what happened is that the A&Rs started to become, they had the Chip Kelly disease. They thought they were important in the team. So the A&R was like, yo, I'm bigger than this, because if it wasn't for me, so the A&R just took pride in saying, oh yeah, I found this act, but you developed them. Like, I don't know if Puff developed Jodeci outside of saying dress like this.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know if he had them in there learning dance steps and hitting the cane on the floor, or he just said dress like this and Mary sing over top billing. So it's just now A&Rs, like I said, they think, and even when I worked at the radio station and would deal with these label cats, they felt like they were the stars, because they wouldn't be big without me. But we don't have that artist in development anymore to find a new artist and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start you off on some hooks, and then we're going to bring you along slowly but surely so that you could get better. And then, they were saying, of course, what we already talked about with the music is that there's just no emotional connection to it at all. You know what I'm saying? And the guy had broke down some lyrics from Drake, and it was like, how do you connect to this? How do you connect to, bars, and in 8 bars, it's about 10 curse words, and, 2 calling women bitches and all this stuff. Like,
I don't even want to touch on that.
You know what I mean? So, again, these are some of the things that, we all want back. You know what I mean? And I think if we had that, and it may have to come on that independent route. You know what I mean? It may have to come, and I mean, I know a lot of artists don't want to do it. The Roots had to do it. You know, when they first came out, they had to go to London. The Roots had to go to London for 2-3 years.
But that's where our
you
soul
feel like
artists
that's gonna
are.
work,
Our
though?
soul artists are overseas. They are in London selling out shows.
But
killing
what I
it,
mean, but what I mean
touring.
by that is that, like, just saying, yo, that's it. Like, that's where I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna stay. Like, you know, the Nina Simone's, like, you know, I'm not coming back to the States because the States ain't got no love for me. So I'm gonna just hit up London, and I'm gonna hit this up. And again, that's the only way it's gonna come back. But it has to be a whole. It has to be people who are able to kind of say no to the money, because then what happens is when you do get these independent albums, I think a lot of people. And again, it's always the fault of people, because I feel like Twitter is such a great vehicle, because not only can us as fans connect to them, but they can connect to us. You know, because I've heard a lot of albums when they do go independent, the production isn't as good because they couldn't afford the Andre and Vidals. They couldn't afford who Hidden Beach was having, you know, produce your albums. You know, but there are a lot of dope new producers out here, you know, so you don't settle for, if somebody, same thing with me, I send out beats to independent artists, they be like, I ain't feeling that, send me something else. So it's like, you don't have to take the first beat that somebody sends you. You know,
No.
So I mean, I think that that's the thing, that it can only come back when those producers then say, well, you know what, I know you independent now, so I know I can't charge you $10,000 a beat, but I believe in your movement, so I'm gonna, you know, cut my prices so that we can put out this good music. But like
it's the greed. You just said that.
It's the greed of it. It's the greed of it. But I really honestly believe, like we said, there's not enough payola behind these projects. I don't think the labels want these artists, because, I mean, really think about it. Who wants to put something out there and it's almost like we're not going to push it? You know, we're not. Well, what's the point of me doing this podcast and then not even saying anything about it? It's just
right.
That's what these artists are doing. It's like, why pay for the studio time, pay for all these producers, pay to get it mixed, mastered, shoot videos? And JR, I'm with you on the Tamia album, because I've never been a Tamia fan. I never liked the Tamia album a day in my life. I like songs, I like hooks, but this Tamia album was by far the dopest Tamia album, and it was a crazy album. That sandwich and the soda was crazy. You know, you talking about sex tactfully. She's like, okay, you know, after we done, I'll make you a sandwich and get you a soda.
I'll kiss you on your forehead, baby.
Right.
Send you on your way.
But it's a tactful way of it, and I was just like, yo, like you said, JR, for this album to just come out and then just disappear, like, you know, she does the Breakfast Club, she does Ebro, she does the Chitlin circuit. But then, you know, after that, you know, you don't hear from it anymore. And it's like, yo, these great albums that are out here that people don't even know about anymore. So,
because right after Tamia leaves the studio, they put on a trap song, and you forget all about, oh, wow, Tamia has this great song, and they played all of these cuts. Like, and not to, like, jump in here, Kill, but, like, when you think about, like, in the morning times, like, I listen to all music, but like what's his name, Tom Joyner, when he has the artists come in there, he's like, yo, you got to bring your keyboard, Slim, you got to come and perform, like, and he only he only has people who can come in there and who can sing. They go in the red room, they sing their song, they come out, talk about it, sing again. He plays a couple of songs after they leave, and then the next day, because it's reinforcement. Tamia comes and you playing all 15 of her songs, snippets of it, and then it's like, oh yeah, this joint is a banger. And then coming up next, we got Fetty Wap. Really? Like, why not coming up next, we gonna rock to Tamia? Steve Harvey talks too much on his show, but he loves good music. And when an artist can sing, he'll come on there like, yo, we gonna play your song every day. And before you know it, it's in your head, and people are calling like, yo, that song was dope, Steve. But nobody's listening to these older people, you know, it's us, because we know the music. So that's the problem. There's no reinforcement after you do the Chitlin circuit. It's like, yeah, thanks, all right, take a picture, tweet it out, put it on your Instagram, and go home and cook the dishes, cook food and do the dishes for your husband. That's it.
Right. Because that's what gets me. Because the video that I did talking about the topic a little bit.
With Melanie Fiona.
Yeah, and it bugged me out, because I'm like, Tyrese was so quick to bother, because Kay, you know about the Z Morning Zoo with Elvis
Mhm.
Duran on Z100
Mhm.
and all that. He was so quick to come at them, but I'm like, wait a minute. You was on Hot 97. You was on the Breakfast Club. They played your song while you were there, but then after you left, they played you no more. But you
Mhm.
was so quick to go at these quote unquote mainstream radio,
Yes.
quick to go at them. But why you not going at Hot 97? Why you not going at Power 105? Why you not going at this? Because clearly in New York, the only people that's playing you is WLS because we don't have Kiss anymore. So
Mhm.
it's like you got one station that's really playing your music, but you on this big circuit going in on the white stations. But you also have the black stations that's not playing you either. So I'm like, he was just, it seemed to me when his whole doing that chitlin circuit, like y'all said, because he went to the Breakfast Club, he did Ebro in the morning. But when I watched that Ebro in the morning interview, they asked him more about his relationship than they did the album. People are not even asking you about albums anymore. It's all about what's going on. Like, that's why it bothered me about Tamia, going back to her. She did the Breakfast Club interview. Now, normally their interviews be like 45 minutes to an hour when they have people like August Alsina and Rick Ross and Chris Brown and all that. Her interview was only 15 minutes because she had no drama. Nobody wanted to talk about her album at all. Nobody talked about the Love Life album. The only thing they talked about, Charlamagne tried to be funny about the sandwich and soda tip, and that was it. And it was like nobody talked about her banging songs like Lipstick and Special, and she did the Denise sample of Black Butterfly. Like, nobody talked about that. Everybody wanted to just talk about, well, Grant Hill is doing this, and how is life as a basketball wife, and why you didn't go on basketball? Well, I'm like, that's why for me, I want a radio station that I can play real R&B artists. And I know it's probably gonna suck because my mom said that's tough because you got to worry about sponsors, and sponsors are what's hot. So it's like if your song, if you ain't a Drake or this, sponsors don't want to mess with you because, like you said, Kill, it's all about the payola. It's all about the money, and they're not gonna sponsor you if you're not gonna be playing songs that is gonna make these younger teenagers play music.
Right.
But it just bothers me, man. This whole situation just bothers me because, especially on the genre that I love, it doesn't get any shine. And then these A&Rs don't make artists anymore. Like, we don't. In the 90s, there was so many groups that can stand. You know what I mean? Like, we had all these 90s R&B groups that could stand. You had the SWV, the In Vogue, the TLC. They all was running it at one time. Now you got to have one person in that spot, and that's it. It's no more. And it's like with the Mary, you went on to Mary. Andre Harrell and Puffy made Mary because I'm like, they made an artist. Because we had the Whitney out, we had the Mariah out, we had the Tony out. We didn't have a girl from the hood that people can relate to. And when you brought Mary on, now it seems like these A&Rs are trying to make new Marys. And that's where you go wrong. That's why we got the K. Michelle, and we got this, and we got that. Like this Tinashe girl, they trying to make her another Janet. And I'm like, please stop, because anyway. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm about to
are you
have a
kidding
connection
me?
over here, for real.
Yeah, it's like, for me, it's like these artists want to make new artists instead of trying to create them. You want a new Beyonce, you want a new Rihanna, you want a new this, you want a new that. Let's make artists. It seems like
But
to
you know
me,
what, bro? You know what, bro? The creativity in not just music, but in every genre is not
It's
there.
lacking.
I mean, when we look at the movies, did y'all hear Marky Mark is doing the $6 Million Man movie? I'm
I
like,
heard that. I
we get the
did
six
hear
million
that.
dollar man. We got G.I. Joe movies. They doing all these remakes. Godzilla. We done had 5 different Spider-Man start over again and new.
Mhm.
right?
Like you said, y'all, you make the great point of everybody's looking for the next one. People don't remember there was a time when Puffy was trying to get Rick Ross and Nicki Minaj to kind of be under his management company, and he was going to try and market them as the new Biggie and Little Kim.
Mhm.
Yes, he
So
was.
again, like you said, it's not just about making new artists. It's about trying to replace the greats that we had. But yo, another dope episode. Jr. Give them all your. Oh, you know what I want to say first, bro, is that I know what you was talking about the radio station, but I think the great thing is now that people are able to start slowly doing it. Things like with your website or with this podcast and different things like that. And like we've always said, is just you have to go out and really search for the good stuff now. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's just really about getting what you have and what other people have that are supporting dope music and really trying to get more people to support each other, because I think the hard part is I'm on Twitter to network with people, and I mean that's how I met you, Jr. You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing. Instead of being on Twitter to just follow your favorite celeb to find out the drama, you know,
Right.
get on here, connect with other people who share the same love and the same passion you have, and help each other grow so that you can get music, whether it's R&B or hip hop or whether it's films or whatever, back. But it's like you try to get on people at Twitter and they don't follow you back, or you try to connect with them. So again, it's my call to people to just say like, yo, we can't do this by ourselves. It's
Mhm.
always on the other people to say, okay, to Jill Scott to say, okay, I'm doing this independent. Okay, Dre and Vidal, can you knock your prices down? It's about us too. It's about
Yep.
if you find a dope independent artist out here who you think can rhyme, and they'll call me like, yo, Kill, I don't have no budget for no beat or nothing. If I think the person's dope, dog, I got over 5,000 beats. I'll give you a beat. Like, that's my support for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But we've got to do more of that as a community if we want all the things that we complain about to change, because it's hard to complain about it, but then turn
And we
around
still supporting it.
and somebody asks you for help. And I can't tell you how many times I've helped people on Twitter and just with advice on things, and that help has branched me off into so many other great things. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So it's just about getting out here and supporting each other. If you think somebody whack, don't support them. But if somebody got something dope out, let them know. Like, people don't even
Right.
leave comments no more. It's like there was a time when blogs first came out, people would leave comments. Now leaving comments
Yes.
ain't cool, or following back ain't cool, or that.
Exactly.
It's like, yo, if I hear the first thing when somebody starts following me, I go to their website. If they got your website, I go to it. If it's dope, I reach out like, yo, let's connect. Let's do something together.
Mhm.
I do this. What do you do? How can we make things happen? So
Exactly.
all that to say is that we can't just wait on the powers that be to support people. And some of these new artists, we need to be able to connect and build with each other. But all that to say, JR, give them all the info on your website, man.
My website is Junior's World of Soul. That's Junior World of Soul. I just did a dope joint on my grandfather, the tribute.
Oh
I
yeah, I
think
saw that. That was dope.
yeah, like I did it because I tried to do the old and the new, to try to put them both together so people can understand. Like, yeah, I'm with y'all with the new, but y'all need to check out the old too. But yeah, that's my website. Like I said, it's always just my thoughts about what this conversation we just had, this dialogue. That's what my video is about, for real. To have one of these artists that needs to be out there and needs to be having #1 records that's real. That's what I want. So yeah,
All right.
that's me.
No doubt. And Kate, give them all your information for your joint.
So I have not been on Twitter. I haven't done anything. I just been focusing on this give back. Tomorrow we give back 365 partners with Mill Creek Town Elementary School for Give Back 2015. If you on Instagram, you on Twitter, look for the hashtag Give Back 2015, and you will see. I'm sorry, Operation Give Back 2015. You'll see all the stuff that we collected. I'm gonna have pictures posted. Once I get through this, I'm gonna take a nap and I'm gonna come back up and I'm gonna start popping and rocking on social media. But this project right here has taken me over the top. Thanks to the supporters, because it's been great. Kill, you've been a great supporter too. JR, yeah, you too. So
So shots fired on me.
It ain't the show if K ain't firing shots, but it's all good. And y'all already know with me is @kill889. We'll make beats for food.com, soundcloud.com/kill889. Yo, we back in the mix, y'all. I'll check y'all next week.